Welcome to AAA Short Stories by Nelson Nick. I'm your host, Nelson Nick, and this is what we have for today's podcast. Yes, the following episodes are about a documentary being produced for television by Rocco Anastasio from Anastasio Productions. Here we have an interview of Staff Sergeant Gonzalez, a non-commissioned officer from when he started in the military, during the military and special ops missions. I hope you enjoy these following episodes, and we will do our best to make sure that you like what we're doing so we continue doing it.
Alright, so we're just going to do what we did before. So why don't you give us your name and give us your history as far as joining the military and why you joined.
My name is Nelson Gonzalez. I'm in the upper 60s of age. I was around 20 years of age and living in a place called Isla Verde, Puerto Rico. I graduated from computer programming. Couldn't find a job as a programmer, so I found a job as a food and beverage controller over at Hotel Carrot Inn. We were only making about $500, $600, or $700 a month. That's not money. I mean, just the rent, the electricity, the water, the fuel, your food. There was nowhere to go. There was no future, so I wanted a new future. So that was one day. My friend Tito and I went to the military. He was interested in joining the Navy. I wasn't interested in joining anything, but I decided to follow with him. So we needed to qualify mentally, morally, and physically. Mentally is the test that they give in the armed services is the ASVAB. Morally is that you haven't broken any laws, no use of drugs, etc. And physically. So suddenly after the ASVAB, I was notified that I was very high in the electronics part. So I picked nuclear weapons specialist. It sounded pretty good, nuclear weapons specialist. But I just needed a new life, so I just decided to join the U.S. Air Force. Tito went to the Navy, and after that time, I've never seen Tito again for all these years. And I just decided to continue joining the Air Force on the delayed enlistment program and went active duty in November 1977. So, November 1st came. I already turned 21 in October. We got on a plane, headed towards San Antonio, Texas. And that's when I was reborn. Because the way my life was boring, no future. So I just decided to decide on something that people really don't know. It's about the needs. Why did I need to go to the U.S. Air Force? So it was all based on something called the mattress. And it's not the one that you sleep on. It's the mattress for the definitions of M for money, A for advancement, T for training, add another T for traveling, R for recreation, E for education, S for security, and the final S is for satisfaction. So I went with it. I had all these needs, so I just decided to go with that mattress. Finally, when we got to San Antonio, Texas, I got hit with this cold air after they opened the aircraft doors. And it's been so long I haven't seen snow or felt that cold. So it all boils down that was my very first impression. We got on these buses. They took us to Lackland Air Force Base. The training instructor had us all go up to a second floor where the dormitory was. Everybody was next to their own beds. And I remember when one of the training instructors asked us if any of us were hungry. So everybody raised their hand. I raised my hand, but I had change in my right hand. So when I raised my hand with my closed fist, the training instructor said, "You better put that down before I shove it right up your, you know where." And that was my second impression. I was asking myself, what did I get myself into? A bunch of strangers yelling at me, telling me what to do. So that was that was the beginning.
Okay, so tell me about your boot camp training experiences, and what exactly did you go through training in the
Nuclear weapons specialist?
Yeah, so tell me about...
Sounds crazy, right? Nuclear weapons. In basic training, after that night, the first thing we did was hear that song, and that's the way of getting up, throw on some clothes, head downstairs, all in that attention, and then we started warming up. After that warm-up, they took us all marching towards the running area. So we decided to start running. Remember, the training instructors are the ones that are in charge, so you do what you're told. So we decided to run all in formation. Maybe that was a quarter mile, but after a certain amount of days and weeks, we kept on running all that morning up to 1.5 miles. Basic training really was around 6 weeks. My friends, soldiers, or in the Navy or the Marine Corps, we're talking about 3, 4, or 5 miles or more. Air Force was very simple when it dealt with physical. We were taken, after the running, we were taken to have some breakfast. Ate breakfast as we were told how to eat breakfast. And then we were going to recheck our jobs. I understand that nuclear weapons specialist was fine, but then I saw this video of the security police with all these canine dogs, and I fell in love with them because I love dogs. So I changed from nuclear weapons specialist, I changed to security police. After that, 6 weeks of training, we got everything down pat. So I decided to go to tech school for security police. Being canine was not part of security police. You had to go through a special exam. So we went through this exam following instructions about running towards the right, running towards the left, forward, backwards. And I was lucky enough to get canine. So after the 6 weeks, went to security police school. From there we went to canine school. From there we went to a place called Camp Bullis. And security police is basically the Army of the Air Force. So all that training that the Army does on the field, living in tents, eating meals ready to eat, which is MREs, we got that training for the next following 8 weeks. And basic training was pretty interesting. A lot of people couldn't make it. They were disqualified. They were sent home. My father yelled so much in my life with my brothers and my sisters that the training instructors really were not my father. So this was a piece of cake for me. I wasn't going to go back to Puerto Rico. I wanted a new life, so the Air Force gave me the new life. So that's how it was. It's pretty cool.
So you didn't serve in any actual wars. However, you did serve in the drug war. So tell me about your experiences.
If everyone remembers, in 1979, we had problems with the hostages and the U.S. Embassy in Iran. Before all of this, our training in Lackland Air Force Base, we had other people from Iran that were sharing with us for training. But after the embassy and the hostages were taken over, well, that was the end of training with Iranian soldiers. We weren't in a war like the Korean War, Vietnam War, or Iraq, Kuwait, Afghanistan, Syria, etc. we went to Europe, and the war that we had was something called Operation Counterpush. You normally don't see this in the newspaper. It was all quiet. And we had many missions. So, lost my train of thought.
Tell us about Operation Counterpush.
Operation Counterpush, it was in 1980 that Ronald Reagan won the presidency, and he was sworn in the 20th of January. And Nancy Reagan had a campaign of say no to drugs. During that time, I was in Europe, and I was working with my dog called Tiger. Tiger basically did not qualify for the last 3 times, and I offered to train Tiger, and it was a competition. The kennel master and a few of the people that were with him at the kennels, they provided me with Tiger, but they had faith that I was going to fail. It didn't work out. I didn't fail. All Tiger needed was a bunch of love. And I thought that the type of training that they were doing over at the air base that I was in, I wasn't going to say which air base it was, I developed a new training method. I requested through the base commander and the security police commander for a new confidence course. We were lucky we got it. My training came out perfect. Tiger was able to jump over 6-foot walls. We decided to put drugs in walls, drugs next to food, coffee grounds, and anything at all, black pepper, anything at all that people thought that the dogs could not smell. So we trained Tiger. The kennel master, they failed, not us. So our war was basically on different missions, dressed in civilian clothing, not in uniform. If it was around our base, my job was to go up and down, play with the dog, and look for drugs, confiscate drugs, etc. We got very lucky because we managed to arrest 1,500 people. We had 15 prosecutions, and we had over 5,000 items of drugs and paraphernalia. Operation Counterpush, we managed to take down 5 dealers. And that part in the 80s, Pablo Escobar was really working hard on getting his cocaine to the United States. But it wasn't only the United States. We're talking about cocaine epidemic around the planet. It's not like today. Today we have an epidemic on opioids. But for that area in Europe, the drugs that we mostly caught was hash, marijuana, cocaine, and one night doing a normal walk around through the dormitories, we discovered a dealer that had over 125 hits of LSD. So that was scary. If my dog would have touched the LSD on the nose, we would have had some real serious problems. That was the only time that I released my dog on a person. When I told them to stop, they kept on booking. I go like, he's not going to be that way. So I told Tiger, go get him. So we finally got the guy, but we didn't know that he was a dealer. He came out of the window from his dormitory, placed the box of drugs right next to the building, covered it with grass or anything that he could find. And he did this before he ran when I sent Tiger afterwards. There's a few memories that I remember during that war. It was an afternoon. We were working from 2 to 10 at night. Call it the shift work. We received a tip. And the tip was that there were some guards over at the weapons storage area. And the first thing you start... Thank you for listening to Podcast 4. Stay tuned for the next podcast, number 5. The interview continues.
You've got mail.